Hello everyone and welcome to Computron Week Day 4. Today we take a look at Unite Warriors Scattershot.
Look right here. This is a loser. I mean, get a load of this guy. He comes out, uses this name, he does not even bring the rest of his teammates with him, and Betatron? What is this garbage? This guy is a loser. Look at him! He's a loser!
Oh my. This is going to be a tough one, isn't it? Scattershot and I have had a pretty rocky relationship in the past, so in order to impress me, this figure is going to have to try pretty hard.
And if there's anything you can say about this figure, it's that he tries.
Scattershot is a retool of Combiner Wars Silverbolt, and as you can see, he's a Cybertronian aircraft of sorts. At the front, you can see the whole cockpit section has been remolded to have this smaller cockpit up here and this massive cannon at the front. The whole shape of it reminds me of something out of Star Trek, and it looks a lot bigger than it should. The cockpit makes it feel like a massive starship when it's probably just, supposed to be an average size ship. The wings are these really space age looking hollow pointy thingies, and he's got this gun looking thing as his third tail fin. His colors are a little interesting. You've got a big section of white, a big section of red, and then a big section of crimson back here. You've got mostly red on the wings with the exception of a little bit of white. You can kind of see through, there's some panel gaps here, so you can see down through into it, and you can see some more white, and that kind of, to me, makes him feel a little bit more Cybertronian, that you can see down through some panels. And on the back here, he's got some more crimson detailing on some of the thrusters. His landing gear is different. It's a skid instead of a wheel, and if you fold it up, obviously, you don't see it, and he'll sit just fine, but for appearances, it's cool to deploy that little landing skid and have him sit there. So, there's his jet mode. Scattershot comes with two identical maroon rifles, and they're pretty detailed, and they've got a couple pegs on either side, a peg there, and a hollow barrel. They do combine with one another, and you're meant to combine them, one upside down and one right side up, and you can close up that little thingy there, and you can peg it in underneath to give his vehicle mode a little bit more firepower, or you can take them and split them, and the instructions have you point them backwards. You can plug them into the hands here. So you plug them into the hands, make sure the wings are tapped. Latch down, plug it into the hand, make sure everything's good. And to me, it just looks like some extra thrusters, so it kind of changes up his silhouette just a little bit. It gives him more of a, different look. It looks more Cybertronian to me this way, with these pointing out the back. And they do give the appearance of thrusters, but you can flip them around if you want to be forward-facing guns. But because the way the wings are on this downward angle, they don't sit level like that, or you don't have the wings tabbed in. So you kind of have to fiddle with it if you want these guns to face forward. Personally, I like it better that way, but I don't it's really a pain in the butt to fiddle with them. I don't like to have to fiddle with it and, mess with it constantly to make it work, because either the wings don't tab in correctly or the gun has to point slightly downward. But, when they're in there, they look, see, fiddly nonsense. So when they're in there, they look decent. They look like they belong there. And they actually kind of add to the shape of the wing a little bit. They're just a little bit too big to fit under there appropriately, and that's why I think that the instructions have them pointed backwards. So, I mean, either way, you've got options, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do to this jet mode with the gun to change up the silhouette, but it'd be nice if this worked a little bit more cohesively.
This certainly isn't the most exciting vehicle mode out of the three, but he manages to make do with the changes.
I mean, this mold will always be an aircraft on top of a brick. Nothing short of a miracle could fix that.
The color placement could have been fixed. Large walls of color wash out details where small paint applications would have highlighted them.
This is a really good example of how laziness can affect the overall experience of a figure. This is my biggest complaint, hands down, and I cannot believe Takara didn't fix it.
Transformation is the same as Silverbolt and Cyclonus. I have to complain about the wings. They don't tab in solidly at all, so they flop around in robot mode. It's kind of a mess.
Here in robot mode, you can see some glimpses of previous versions of this character and previous versions of the mold itself, but where this figure really shines is the whole chest area and the head. I know the head has been seen before, but the new head with the new chest, and the chest is also cartoon accurate, you know, it just really changes up the look of this figure in the torso area. I like how they use the paint, the red paint, to work in this panel a little bit to kind of draw his chest down to make him look a little bit broader in the chest, and you know, it kind of shortens up his midsection a little bit. So the paint does a great job making the silhouette look a little bit different. You see he's got twin Autobot logos there. His shoulders are that dark crimson. His hands, or his arms, are that very nice red. His hands are crimson. Most of the torso is white, coming all the way down to the legs, where you can see they are white at the knees. Mostly this red and the crimson here on the feet. And the hinges, actually, you can see here the hinges on some of the Computron parts are crimson as well. So it gives the legs a little bit more unified of a look without making them a solid hunk of color. They're still able to be detailed by 3 different colors respectively, but it manages to make the leg look more unified. I think it just looks very, very nice. His head is absolutely phenomenal. You can see that bone white color mixed with the shiny silver face and the light blue optic visor. It looks really good. He definitely has a commanding presence about him, and this color palette for his head works better than any other. Now you can have him hold his twin blasters here, and that looks pretty good, like so. So you can have him holding both blasters individually, or if you wanted to, you could do what I did for vehicle mode, and you could combine them and make them the long rifle. Of course, that gets in the way a little bit here. Or if you wanted to change it up, you could plug them in here on his arms one of 2 ways, like that, or you could twist it to its side so it takes up less room. Either way, it just kind of gives him options of how to be armed without just holding the rifles, and it also changes up the silhouette a little bit. For his posability, you've got his head on a ball joint back and forth. He looks up and down more than he looks side to side due to the helmet hitting the side of his collar here. But it's good. His neck joint, the transformation joint and the neck joint kind of can't decide which one wants to work and which one doesn't. So often when you're moving his head, it's hitting that neck joint and making the whole panel right here flip. But if you're constant with it, you can make it do what you want to do. But like I said, he does look up more than he does look left to right, which is interesting. His shoulders are that very heavy ratchet, with that very heavy ratchet out to the side. You got an elbow bend, and the fists are on that flip-up thingy, which you probably won't want to use. Nothing at the waist due to the way all of the transformation bits work. His thighs rotate, his hips ratchet up and down, in and out. You've got a double knee bend due to the way transformation works. If you could get around this kibble back here. And then his feet also tilt back and forth like so. And, you know, if you want to count that, his heel does fold around a little bit.
Color placement is much better in robot mode. It's apparent that most of the paint budget was spent here. It's a very G1 accurate color scheme.
This is definitely my least favorite figure from the set, and I can't identify whether it's bias from the previous versions or that I had super high expectations for him because he was a Japanese figure. I mean, either way, he's not awful. I feel like Takara did a good job, and they really tried to make him decent. It just didn't happen.
Scattershot is pretty middle ground. He's imaginative, he has better color placement in robot mode, but he suffers a lot in vehicle mode. He doesn't outrank Cyclonus, but he does do enough to find favor over Silverbolt.
Hands down, the biggest asset this figure has is his torso mode for Computron, but I can't talk about that just yet. Technically, I just did. Anyway, Scattershot is a very meh figure. He's not awful, but he's also not great, and I can't hate him for being average. So yeah, he's just meh. Anyway, thanks for watching Computron Week. I'll see you tomorrow.
Wow.